Hello, everyone. My name is Andreas Diaz. Today, me and Will are back again to do a Loki Marvel Plus talk. Today, we're talking about episode 3. Well, help me out with this title. Is this called
Lamentis.
Lamentis? Of course, this is episode 3. And pretty much going like right in. What you thought about this episode?
Yeah, I thought it was a change of pace from the first two. It seemed to feel like it wasn't quite connected to the story. Like it was obviously like progressing the story, but it felt like it was more serving as like a function for Loki and Sylvie to connect and to learn more about both of those characters.
Mm, true.
Uh, so yeah, it was interesting, but it felt a little like tangential, I guess.
Yeah, and the like it's kind of funny because like out of all these shows, I really don't know what to expect because this show is a Loki, and like I don't know what's Loki's like we don't know what's like Sylvie's end game. We don't know this time the 2012 Loki end game. Towards the end of the series, it's like it everything's up the air, and like um I think out of these shows, Loki, the Disney Plus show can easily be this like wacky, just like almost like frantic show that it stays off the course, and
Mm-hmm.
this episode is totally like that, and especially like we get into like the nitty gritty of this episode, like I feel like the 2012 Loki is trying to trick Sylvie, you know, telling what's her grand plan, and so like I don't know if he wants to steal that from her or like understand why she's doing this, like it's very interesting what's going on in episode 3. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Well, I think episode 3 was um you know not like it wasn't episode 2 for me. I don't think it's good as episode 2, but I think this one is still equally great as the first 2 episodes we have so far. It isn't like how you say WandaVision episode 3, or it cannot really beat the Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 3 because that was so much great stuff. Having Simo coming back and reintroducing Sharon Carter, and so this episode was well, I think for me this episode was one of the best like setting up and payoffs that I was not expecting. Like where you're expecting the Minutemen, the people in the TVA being veterans, when Sylvie talked to Loki and say that every person in that organization is a variant and not these
Yeah,
creatures from the Timekeepers. Like, what do you
yeah,
thought
no,
about that?
yeah, that was surprising, and I'm excited to see how that's going to pay off later.
Yes,
Yeah, Mobius is definitely from the '90s.
yes, he's from the 90s. Yes.
I
Oh
hope we
my
see
god.
him with a jet ski at some point.
Oh my god. I will be dying laughter if they do that. Um. Oh my god. Yeah, that was a big surprise, and I had a chance to rewatch the episode 3, and because the beginning of the episode when we see Sylvie and of course Loki
Mhm.
going back to the TVA, and of course she was trying to mind control one of the Minutemen, and she couldn't do that of course because her powers doesn't work in that well, right? And we had those, was it like revivisor stick they use to reset everyone's
Yeah,
timeline. She did that to one of them, and then at first I didn't notice that. I wasn't thinking, and then when she mentioned the reveal later on the episode, I rewatched it again and I saw, okay, that was like oh my god, a great setup before we ever knew about the reveal, and that was
Hmm.
very cool. And like that was a good way to set up that reveal very good. And this show has great command of their storytelling. I think one of the things that I feel like the last two series have been lacking is just command of their storytelling and pets pacing as well. Um, I mean, despite this episode is the shortest, I mean they do a lot to get done, and I feel like they do a good job with that. Um, so and then like it was kind of interesting. They went to this planet. Of course, well the title of it actually
Yeah.
I didn't know it's
Lamentis. Yeah.
Lamentis one in the year 2077. And by the way, I think this episode has the best cinematography look of the series. Like everything just pops everywhere. I love the color purple, and I really like how they use it in this episode. And I really like the interaction between Sylvie and Loki. I really like how each one is trying to, well, Sylvie's trying to kill Loki because she doesn't like his present, and then Loki's trying to trick her to find out what's her end game, and then at the same time, like, is he trying to pull her into his world? Like, what do you think about like their interaction? Well,
Yeah. No, I thought it was interesting. I liked hearing about the differences in their histories.
yes, very true. About their
The
moms,
Yeah,
like,
their moms. The fact that Sylvie's parents told her that she was adopted.
oh my god, yeah, that's
Yeah,
very
it's.
nice.
I'm interested to like see more about that. I have a feeling we're gonna get more Sylvie backstory, so
Well,
that'll be good.
yeah, yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah, I would say I really like the actress that plays Sylvie. I think she did a great job. Um, in this episode. I love her costume. I think it's very cool. Yeah, they did a pretty good job of like getting to know Sylvie and what she is. I like how she's different from Loki, and she's like a very like mission oriented like person, where Loki is a very trickster as always. Um, and I guess when we get to like the train, I like how I think one of my favorite scenes was Loki talking about how his mom was like she showed him magic when he was little, and like I like that little touch of the fireworks he projected from his hands. That was a really great scene he did, and and then of course I like his line, "Love is a dagger," uh, apparently.
Yep.
Oh my god! So um and then there was cool touches during the train, uh like him singing, the song, and then him doing the same thing as Thor did from the first film.
Right. I
Like
love that
another,
that's like a recurring Asgardian tradition. It's
yeah,
been in several like movies and TV
yeah,
shows now.
yeah. Which is weird because none of the Asgards never do that when they're in Asgard
No,
or.
they did in one of the movies. I think it's in Thor: The Dark World. There's a
Oh,
flashback, or no, it's there's like a scene where they're at a feast and
mhm.
Volstagg does that, like
Oh,
in the
really?
background. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, because I was thinking Valkyrie. I know she did that a couple
Hmm.
times in the
Yep.
third Thor film. Um, okay, I didn't. I wasn't thinking about Thor: The Dark World. Okay,
Yeah, a few people do.
well, I mean, I don't want to remember Thor: The Dark World, honestly. Anyway, um, uh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I really appreciate they brought that back. Um, and that was cool. Someone, it's kind of interesting. This episode or this show feels like a Doctor Who. I don't know
Yes,
if you have that feeling. Like this,
absolutely.
this episode felt like the most Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And
Sylvie kind of looks like the Doctor.
Oh my god,
too. Like
yes.
that's like what I was thinking the entire time. This feels
Oh
like
my,
a Doctor Who episode, and even has like a Jodie Whittaker look like.
oh my god, 13th Doctor. That's who she is for real. And I, I mean, I don't like talking about Doctor Who in this podcast, but I mean, it's kind of crazy that this show is a better Doctor Who show over the one we have right now. You know,
Yeah, I haven't been watching for a few years now, but
wow. Um,
yeah,
it's not that bad. It's just they don't stick the landing. I mean, as always with TV,
yeah,
it's,
yeah.
it's
There's just one point during series, I forget what season it was, like what number. It was Jodie Whittaker's first season.
11, series
Yeah,
11.
at one point during it, it was like halfway through an episode, and I realized I was really bored,
Oh
so I
my
just
god.
stopped watching.
Is it the Tensa Kandrama, whatever that episode was called?
It was whatever the like Amazon warehouse one was.
What? Oh my god, that's Club Brand. Um, um, Club Land or something like that.
I'll look it up.
Oh my god.
But if you don't want to talk about this right now, that's fine too.
Oh, yeah, no, actually, let's continue on Loki,
Yeah.
because well, that's the thing. The show is so much like Doctor Who, and this episode, like, I mean, like, I mean, the production value was amazing. I mean, I, I, I mean, and the situation, like this could have been a good episode for Doctor Who. You know, the idea of, you know, two characters being stuck on a planet that is like going to be destroyed
Yeah.
by, you know, with the big moon.
Mhm.
That's like I say collision together,
Yeah.
and like that's such a great sci-fi idea.
Right. They have to figure out a way to escape
Yeah,
the apocalypse.
yeah, and that's cool. That's probably the most sci-fi uh, thing I ever seen in my life. You know, like we have great sci-fi shows going on, and some I haven't seen. You know, like The Expansion, stuff like that. Um, but I felt like this episode really had a great premise, and they
Mhm.
like did a good job of executing it right, which is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. And I liked that they kept failing too. Like
Oh,
it wasn't just like,
yes.
okay, we have to do this and we're gonna have to do everything perfectly. It's like every step of the way they make some mistake and it like costs them their chance to get out.
Well, here's the thing. I think the 2012 Loki is doing that intentionally. So let's keep that in mind. Um,
Interesting.
oh, really? Oh, okay.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Well, okay.
It's like, what's his plan to get out, like to get away from the planet that's crashing into?
Well, okay. I, I can understand what you're thinking, and it could be true in next episode. I'm not gonna, you know, to say this is right, but I think you're right about this, Will. I'm just saying, I've been to get myself to remember this episodes. I always listen to other YouTubers to see, you know, they do analysis as well with these shows. One of them mentioned during the first episode, Loki was looking at you know the various affinity stones in that cabin.
Oh, yeah.
He picked up a time stone. Now the edit was very quick. We don't see him put it back or like take it. Like he took it, so just in case he needs to use it. And one of the YouTubers, Heavy Spoilers, good guy, a great YouTuber, mentioned that Loki is intentionally sabotaging this so that he can like emotionally manipulate Silva, uh, or yeah,
Sylvie.
Sylvie. Thank you. Oh my God, Silva from Skyfall. Sylvie, to like kind of like talk about her plan to Loki, like what she's really doing. This this grand plan she just did, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And and I don't know what if Loki wants to take it and like go forward to it, or like I don't know what's that. We don't know about that.
Yeah.
So he's sabotaging his mission now, and because he's doing that, because he probably has a time stone to like reverse the whole thing, and like kind of like that the Doctor Strange ending
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
like Strange like uh, re-looping every time he goes to meet Dormammu. It's like
Yeah.
yeah, and so that's what he's doing, I
Okay.
think.
I don't buy that.
Oh,
That's
really?
yeah.
Okay.
I think Loki is not. I don't think the time stones would work if you took them from the TVA because they're supposed to be tied to specific timelines,
Mm,
right? So if those are
okay,
variant time stones, they aren't going to work in the sacred timeline.
that's true.
And then the other thing, I like Loki's not smart enough to think of that. Like
Okay,
I think
I mean
Sylvie is smarter than him,
that's true.
um,
Um,
and I think his plan right now is to get Sylvie to tell him her plan so he can do it himself instead.
yeah, that that part I agree with.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. That I mean that's true. But that's the thing about this episode. It's like it's very like I don't know. Like I can see why you're saying that, but like this is the 2012 Loki, and like it's not you know Thor: The Dark World or you know
Yeah, he hasn't had his like redemption arc.
yeah, and for me, I buy he's gonna do that because he's still evil. Like he's still the god of the misfit, you know.
Right.
But I also agree with what you say. Well, I need to see. We need to see how episode 4 does like
Mm-hmm.
continue the storyline because like I mean this episode was just like I like how they do a good job of like subverting my expectations, and like this episode did it very well, and like you know they didn't do it in like in a frustrating way. Like they did a good job of subverting my expectations on like how it was going to happen, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then I get what you're saying about like the use of the any object in the timeline stuff like that. I For me, like another point that I can disagree with you is that Loki knows what he knows what he needs to do. Like you have to remember he learned stuff in the TVA, and so he probably knows like loopholes and like stuff that maybe the TVA doesn't know. Like he probably know how to use the Infinity Stone during this timeline, maybe because we're in an apocalypse, right? The TVA is not to take this planet because it's going to be destroyed, right?
Right. But
You know,
I,
but
I
I
don't think that would make the time stone work. I think that just means the TVA doesn't know that they're there. So if anything goes
well and
wrong, there's no
yeah,
like way to get. So I like because their plan to get to the spaceship. I thought was they would escape on the spaceship and then inevitably the TVA would show up because no one was supposed to escape, and then they could just
uh-huh,
steal another one of those like portal things.
yeah, um,
Um, but if the TVA, if they don't escape and the TVA never knows that they're there, they're just gonna die on that planet.
yeah. If Loki has a Infinity Stone, that's another thing. I don't know if he has one in his pocket, but whatever. Also, to mention that point, the TVA arriving, that's
Mm-hmm.
another theory people have mentioned. So instead of my theory, the other theory is that maybe Loki is waiting for the TVA to arrive, and so that's how they escape. I do want to mention
Well,
that.
I think that was their plan,
Hmm.
but the TVA won't know that they're there because everyone dies on the planet. So I think they
Yeah,
wanted to escape the planet, and then they could do that.
yeah,
Like then the
yeah,
TVA would show up and they could steal the tempad. But
yeah.
I think the only
Um,
way to get that to happen is to cause something to alter the timeline
that
to
that's
like
true.
alert the TVA that they're there. Um,
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. Also, like what Sylvie did in episode 2, like setting the reset chargers. Like,
Mhm.
are they able to like focus on that thing that Loki and Silva did right now? Like, are they gonna they're gonna drop everything to rescue Loki and that and the individual they don't know is the one that did it? Like everything's up in the air really. Like I'm just I'm, I just want the episode 4 come out and like get this answer because
Yeah.
I'm very curious about what they're gonna do. um yeah, and then what else that we have to mention? Yeah, like that. I mean, I'm curious how they're gonna solve that next episode. So, um, what else we had to mention that we didn't? Um, oh, oh, you mentioned what was it? The time, um, what do you call it? Time pad,
Of the temp pad?
temp
Yeah.
pad. Thank you. Uh, cool name, by the way. I love that. So that's another thing. Did Loki like? You think that Loki actually broke that, or did he did that intention? Because that's another thing. I cannot believe myself to think that Loki broke that.
I mean, he
I
was drunk
I mean that's true, but we didn't know how
and
drunk he
got
was.
well, he was very drunk and then he got thrown from a train.
Okay, that's
Like
that's
I don't
true.
think it was his plan to
I
break that because that was like his insurance. Like Sylvie won't kill me because I have this thing that she needs.
right. That's true. Well, another thing. Um, uh, another thing that Sylvie did. That Loki was, because Loki been asking her questions throughout this episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of them is like, how do you control these people? And she did explain it when before they go to the train. You think that Loki learned quickly to use a mind control on Sylvie and like
No.
everything we're seeing from because like there was a quick edit of her talking and then she was sleeping and then like all of a sudden like she sees Loki dancing and like like you think this half towards the end of this episode was just uh a astral projection maybe.
I think her falling asleep definitely opened up the possibility that Loki did something, but I
Hmm.
don't think it would be anything like significant to the extent that like the like the second half of the episode was all in her head or anything because like he
Okay.
didn't know how to use that magic and it's only supposed to work
Yeah.
or it's like hard to do on people with a strong mind and I imagine if you're someone who can do that then you would have a strong mind so it'd be hard to do it on Sylvie even if you like weren't a beginner at it.
Right. Yes, and she did say that, and yeah, and she did that with the agent that she captured from episode 2, and we
Mm-hmm.
saw that in the beginning of this episode, and it was very intriguing. And that was another hint about um that this Miniman wasn't like a form of alien. It was just like a time variant. So like that was another setup that I also didn't catch on. So okay, all right, that makes sense. I also like Loki's line. You will pay price for your lack of vision. Um, well, or like his lack of vision. He say because that line is from uh, Palpatine from Star Wars. And what else? That was okay. So that makes sense because trying to figure out what other things we had to mention. Uh, oh, and I guess I guess the major thing because this is the short episode and there was not much going on besides the character development. One thing that has been kind of a big deal was Loki's confirmed being bisexual. What you thought about that? Um,
Yeah, I thought that was well done. because
Okay.
it was like, you know, it didn't feel forced. It just felt like two
Hmm.
people like casually talking about themselves and their like relationships, um, as opposed to it feeling like Disney was being like, "Hey, look, we put gay people in it." You know, it felt like natural and normal, and
Yeah.
you know that's what you want it to feel normal.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yes.
and also
True.
like long overdue for that
Yes.
confirmation for Loki, and well, and just in general as like for society, long overdue. But also like Loki has been canonically bisexual since the original Norse myths. So,
Oh, really?
um,
Okay.
well, yeah, like
I mean,
he would like he was also like gender fluid in the Norse myths. Like he is a
okay.
shapeshifter. He,
That's true.
you know, he
Uh,
does whatever with whoever.
that's true. That makes sense. That's.
Um,
I mean, that kind of makes sense.
yeah,
Um, yeah. Yeah. I agreed. This was long overdue. I didn't know that was actually true in the Norse mythology because I just knew that he was bisexual in the comics.
yeah.
So
No, he
okay.
like in the Norse myths, he like shapeshifts a lot. He uh, like physically like gets pregnant and gives birth to a few different creatures.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
That's okay. That's interesting. Any like a no worry creatures that we know
yeah.
like
It's like Fenrir, the
oh
wolf,
okay.
who
Oh
is in Thor Ragnarok. That's the giant wolf.
okay.
Sleipnir, which is Odin's horse, his eight-legged horse, which we
Okay.
see in the first Thor movie briefly.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
Okay. Then third.
In the original Norse myths, Hel, who is the inspiration for Hela, um, was his daughter. He doesn't give birth to her; it was just his
Oh
daughter.
okay.
He gives birth to the horse.
The horse and the wolf. Okay, that
Well,
makes
the
sense.
wolf is also the wolf is he doesn't give birth to Fenrir. Fenrir is Hel's
Oh
brother. Um,
okay. Okay, that makes sense.
yeah,
Okay, that's interesting.
I don't know if it makes sense, but
No, no, I mean,
you get it though. Yeah,
yeah, I get it. Okay, that's interesting. I, I mean, I, I mean, that's a cool. Yeah, yeah. Uh,
yeah,
I mean, they're magic, so they can do whatever they
yeah.
want. So
No, he can do anything, so he
yeah,
does. It's great.
yep. So and Loki can do everything as well.
Yeah,
um, okay, okay, that's a cool fact. Yeah, and of course, I agree with Will that it wasn't like as pandery as any other Disney stuff. Like, I think it was like I mean I don't like how they announce it and then we just get like a brief like hunch or like reference to it. Like
right.
I
Yeah, like when Endgame came out, and they were like, oh, like there's Marvel's first gay character in it, and then it's
oh
just a
my god,
guy like saying that he went on a date with a man, which was like I thought absent of like Disney pushing that as some big thing that was well done because it was very like natural and whatever. But
yeah,
because beforehand they were like, oh, like the first gay character in a Marvel movie, we were like looking for that, and then it happened, and we were like, that's it. That's really
that's really it. Yeah,
like
and I don't like I don't like they're repeating it again with Eternals with um uh
Festus.
yeah but fastest because I if you're gonna do it just do it like I like
Yeah, it's like don't like announce it beforehand and just be like it's like they're trying to get praise
yeah and
instead of like trying to normalize it. I don't know.
yeah yeah it's very uncomfortable and like I just don't understand like I don't know what they're trying to say with that message because I don't know like I feel like it's just too pandering and just not like full commitment to it.
Yeah, it feels very like superficial. Like they're just doing it so they can say that they did it instead of doing
Yeah.
it because that's like the right choice for the character, or because that's like what they want the character to be.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
again, I think this felt very like normal and natural and not like that. So it was good.
Yeah. Well, and they don't make it like I kind of appreciate they didn't make it awkward. Like it was like, oh,
Yeah, it was just like, yeah, and we're continuing the conversation
exactly.
as though nothing happened because nothing like significant happened. It's normal to say that you're
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I really enjoyed that, and it was cool to get to know like Sylvie in that moment as well, and like just I kind of like how she's like this like was it like hard hitting soldier that's been through a lot of wars, and like and and you know same time being a trickster as well. So um I guess to like wrap things up, I I mentioned the production side. I also like the like we haven't. Oh, I before we wrapped up, I was gonna mention I didn't talk about this in the last episode about my theory about Kane, Crane.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, I think he's like a another version of Loki
Interesting.
because in the comics, because I know Kane is a version of Reed Richards from the Texan Four, right?
Yep.
And I don't know if Marvel Studios are gonna do that. And I was thinking that maybe this version of Kane, whenever we're gonna see him here, or you know, or Ant-Man, the third film, I feel like it's this other version of Loki because we have because they changed a lot of female Loki here, and
Mhm.
like she's like a amalgamation of female Loki, the second Enchantress. So I feel like that's what we're gonna do with Kane. That like they're probably gonna change him and make him be this other version of Loki that we don't know. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, it's possible.
Um,
Yeah. I think it'd be fun too if they got to the timekeepers and it was just 3 different versions of Loki
yes,
that had like conquered the previous timeline.
yes, I know that'd be totally great. Um, and then yeah, and because we got Richard and Grant, and I don't know if he was gonna be that or he's gonna be like a mentor for Sylvie. And he's gonna be the older
Could
Loki.
be, yeah, maybe like Sylvie got taken at like an early point in the timeline, and then that was like an older Loki that took her in and raised her.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what's gonna happen in next episode or like whenever we get the background for this character. So and then I feel like and then another thing I want to mention was the credits, the end credits for Loki. I love how each of these credits have been kind of like replaying what happened in the first episode and then the second and this one I like how like they give you a little bit of shots of what happened in this episode. And I want to mention the song they have here was "The Dark Moon" by Bunny Qatar. Was a great end for this episode with that titles. So I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
And the music has been great so far in this show. I love the music this series.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, one of the best. I feel like. And I think that's it. Anything else went to talk about? Well, we have to mention.
Um, I don't know. I missed Mobius this episode.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
I'm
Um,
excited for him to come back.
yes.
But
Hopefully.
that's it.
Oh, another quick thing.
Mhm.
Uh, I saw this in Instagram. I was checking this. One of the showrunners. She mentioned that Wilson is not going to say "wow" in this series, and so that made me disappointment.
Right.
Like he's not going to say that. Like, why are
I
you
know.
doing?
Why hire Owen Wilson if I can
Yeah,
have him say his catchphrase?
I know. Like that's one of his most iconic. Like it's like it's like not telling Matthew McConaughey to not say all right." It's just like, come on. like you have to say that. Anyway, that's just another news I heard. And, if you folks hear that, it's just a sad moment for us.
Mhm.
But yeah, I did miss Mobius in this episode. But the thing I like about it is that I didn't think about it. I because I really
Mhm.
like.
Yeah, I mean, I was fully invested in the story that we were watching.
uh
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess to wrap things up, I want to ask you, Will. So far the series, what do you think so far for this show? Like, in your mind, is it is it meeting your expectations? And like, is it better than WandaVision or Falcon and the Winter Soldier so far?
Yeah. I think I said this last week, but I don't really want to
Yeah,
comment on that until the ending because I
of
think
course.
like WandaVision has been my favorite, but it didn't quite stick the landing.
Yeah,
Um,
I
so
agree.
I want to see if Loki can get to like a satisfying conclusion before I make that judgment.
That's true. I mean, I think you and I can say it's better than Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, yeah, I can say that. So
Yeah. Um, and especially pacing. I mean, I was a
mhm,
little concerned about the short time, but I feel like they actually surprised me that they actually did a lot in this
mhm,
42 minutes.
yeah,
Because I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier was around that, or 45, or um,
mhm,
whatever the running times were. But like they never like they were really struggling with their pacing in each episode. Like I mean,
yeah.
I I don't know. Like one time it was fast, and then one time they were slow, and it's like okay, just pace them. Yeah. Well, interesting. Oh wow. Okay. I'm just checking, and all Falcon and the Winter Soldiers were like 50 minutes under. Like
Really.
yeah, the first two episodes were 50 minutes. The third and fourth were 54. Their longest was the fifth episode, 61 minutes.
Hmm.
And then episode six was 52 minutes.
Okay.
So, and okay, now I'm curious about One Division. Um, like,
But WandaVision, very like there were a lot that were like 30 minutes because they were sitcom episodes.
that's true.
But there were
And there,
9 of them.
yeah, there are nine of them. And then their
The
longest
longer
one,
ones were like 40, 45 minutes.
yeah, episode five, eight, and nine were the longest. And episode nine clocks in to 51 minutes. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know because I don't know if you well, I guess it's like these shows are different. Like I feel like Loki has been the most cinematic of these shows. I I don't know if you have that opinion. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I think WandaVision, um, I mean, they really nailed what they were going for with the sitcom stuff. And
yeah,
then the
yeah.
stuff outside of the Hex felt like a Marvel movie, like a generic Marvel movie, but a Marvel
Yeah.
movie.
At least a good generic Marvel movie, not Thor:
Yeah,
The Dark World.
yeah, no, it was.
um, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess so. But I think so far, I think we have everything covered, right, for episode three. Will, um,
Yeah, I'm good.
okay. Well, thank you, Will, for coming in today, and
Yeah, thank you for having me.
yeah, and me and Will will be back for next week for episode four of Loki. So thank you, folks, and hit that subscribe button, and see you guys